welcome to Abby from Primeval Made Me Gay! How are we? Good? Good? I'm Jenny, nice to meet you. Tonight, 5 people are going to share a story with you about someone who has changed their life in some way. This could be a friend, a relative, a fictional character, and the impact could have been as big as donating a kidney to the person who gave this audience member their lovely dress. You're doing very well, well done. To get some variety, we have delved into the past of our performers. We have got extracts from diaries, videos, poems, and some frankly disturbing fan fiction to look forward to. Everything that you are going to hear tonight is true. That's right, loves things are going to get personal, okay? Sharing is caring, guys, so I want to make sure that we are a lovely, warm, friendly room this evening, okay? Going to the theatre usually involves sitting in the dark with a load of people you don't know. Tonight, that changes, okay? We are going to be on levels, right? So find the person who sat closest to you who you don't know. Find your nearest stranger. You're not sat by any strangers, you're not trying hard enough. Okay? Shake their hand. Title of the show. Some of you might have come to see the show purely because of the title. To give you some context, right? Popular ITV sci-fi drama Primeval had... We've got some nerds in tonight. Popular ITV sci-fi drama Primeval had 2 main impacts on me growing up, right? Number 1, I learned the word anomaly. Staunch homosexual. Number 2 was largely down to Abby. Abby was a very beautiful blonde woman who spent a lot of the show in her knickers. She was also Hannah in S Club 7. And I was thinking recently that maybe if I hadn't been so into dinosaurs when I was younger, I never would have watched Primeval, I never would have seen Abby, and it would have taken me a lot longer to realise something quite fundamental to who I am. And thinking about this got me thinking more generally about all the people who influence us when we're growing up, and how we never really acknowledge them nearly enough. So something interesting, right? So every 7 to 10 years, all the body's cells renew themselves. How cool is that, right? That's like science, yeah? Or it might not be, I heard it in a pub in Liverpool. But every decade, we are made of completely new bits. Like, we're always renewing, always working each other out. And it makes me realise that people grow up fast. You know, like, one of the best things about being a person, about being me, or you, not you. I'm just kidding, you're my favourite. is that we are limited edition, right? Like a Renault Clio Williams, or a red iPhone, you know? We're only here while stocks last. And in fact, let's say it together, okay? So repeat after me, right? One day, we're all going to die.
One day, we're all going to die.
But that makes us special.
That makes us special.
Because in the short amount of time that we have to amble blindly around planet Earth, constantly being new people, we meet all kinds of people who make us who we are. And this is a show about those people. Now, in a sec, I am going to get things started, but getting up to share something very personal in front of 80 randoms can be a bit scary, right? So we're not going to have any fucking polite poetry recital clapping in the Corpus Playrooms tonight. You are going to clap like Beyonce has just given you the Holy Grail, okay? So we're going to start the applause over here, and it's going to build and
2 tries, but you guys finally got it right. Hi, I'm Pratap, and thank you for the applause. I will now proceed to make you all regret it. Remember when, you were a teenager and you discovered Facebook for the first time, or rather Facebook discovered you? I know I do, and what I'm going to read out to you today is not someone who influenced me yet. That'll come later. But first, I'll read out the very first post I'd written on Facebook. This was a note to myself I'd written after reading Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch album, which is something so emotional that it makes chicken soup for the teenage soul seem like a technical paper in econometrica. You're laughing, but none of you know what econometrica is. I'm going to reach into my pocket and I'm going to take out my phone and read it out from there. The post is called The Tension of the Opposites. The tension of the opposites has completely invaded our life. We have so many, not always opposing, but almost always contrasting choices and options between us that we are torn apart. And how? And become more specific, Dumbledore once said to Harry Potter, you must choose between what is right and what is easy. Well said, Dumbo. Right is what we need today. To choose the right in our life. Because there are a lot more wrong left turns. Which like mirages in a desert. Like an oasis from afar. But when you jump into it for a swim, probably in a gorgeous swimsuit, you end up choking on sand. In my defense, I never had a swimsuit growing up, so I really wanted one. Taking the right path will rarely lead to blissful pleasure, but it's an oasis, all right. An oasis of pure contentment and gratification. This is sometimes more pleasurable than pleasure itself. 15-year-old me knew then what political pundits know now. Tautologies are cool. And I'm going to end now so that more people can come on stage, but I end with this para. In the end, as Maury says from Tuesdays with Maury by Mitch album, whenever there's a tension of the opposites, what we need must win over what we want. Thank you so much.
To you about someone who has maybe had the biggest influence on my life, okay? You've absolutely guessed it. It's Billie Piper. Most notably in her role as Rose Tyler in Doctor Who, okay? Now I know what you're thinking, bit of a rogue choice, but when I heard the title of this show, she was the first person that came into my head. I messaged my friend from when I was a kid about it, and it did make me think, have I picked the right person? But I just couldn't shake Billie out of my head. In many ways, she is perfect for this show. A female lead from a Saturday night sci-fi cult show. Sound at all familiar? Except in this instance, it's more like, Rose from Doctor Who made me think, am I gay? I first started watching Doctor Who at the age of about 6. I can remember it strangely vividly. We caught the last 20 minutes or so of an episode about Charles Dickens and ghosts. Now, I'm pretending that I don't remember the exact episode title, but I absolutely do. I can name every single episode of Doctor Who from the 2005 to 2009 series. Seriously, don't challenge me on it, I absolutely can. Anyway, so I was watching this and I was absolutely hooked, transfixed even, and not by the show's hero, the Doctor, but by his companion, Rose Tyler. I don't know what it was that drew me to her so much at first. Weirdly enough, I think part of it was the fact that she was this young, working-class girl with little prospects who bumped into this stranger who changed her life completely. as a white middle-class man. That resonates a lot with me. I did have friends when I was growing up, but none of them had the same all-consuming passion for Time Lords and time travel that I did. There was this one boy actually called Fred, who claimed, and notice claimed, to be a huge Doctor Who fan. And he was bossier and even more dominating than me, so he always took the role of the Doctor, which was perfect for me because it meant I got to be Rose. She was always a real star for me, and I don't really know why. I think she was so kind and compassionate as a character, and she had that edge of being human, which I am too. And it may sound really silly to you, and I totally take that, but I think in that way, she did kind of have an impact on me because she was always this grounding force, and she would use common sense just to sort out the most ridiculous of scenarios. And in that way, she has really affected me because I feel like I want to be someone's companion. And also, she was a really, really distinctive personality and much cooler than everyone around her. And that's me in my head. I was obsessed with Doctor Who. I used to write my own series. Like I would literally structure it so meticulously with the same to-be-continued episodes that they had. Like there would always be one in the series where the Doctor and the companion weren't really there. I would do that to the letter. I loved it so much. And when Rose left the show, I was bereaved, yeah. Seriously. No, I've never cried at any TV show or film except for the Series 2 finale, appropriately titled Doomsday. Where to the uninformed Rose dies, but to the clued up among us, we all knew that actually she was just trapped in like this parallel universe, and she could live a normal life there just without the Doctor, except like he couldn't get there because the only way to get there was with these tiny devices, and like every time you press them, they tore a hole in the fabric of the universe, and therefore in that respect it was an absolute no-go. To the uninformed, this face to me, it was devastating. I must admit, I do sometimes still rewatch old series of Doctor Who, and I still cry at that episode. Like seriously, I didn't cry at my granddad's funeral. When Rose makes her way to a beach in Norway in the parallel universe to say goodbye one last time. Okay? I wasn't that close to my granddad. Actually, the best day of my life was when it was announced that Rose would be returning to the series, okay? And she came back earlier than expected in just the very first episode. And she was only there for about 8 seconds, but I made my family rewind and rewatch it about 23 times. She was such a massive deal to me. I remember in year 2, when I broke my arm, the thing that I took away from it was that I got this new Rose toy. Like, don't get it twisted, I absolutely already had the toy. But she'd cut her hair between seasons, so I wasn't up to date with a new look. These are real. Anyway, yeah, so I was completely obsessed, and my love of Billie Piper stretched past Doctor Who. And at the age of 8, I discovered that she was to be in a new series on ITV2, The Secret Diaries. The innuendo of that was totally lost on me, and I absolutely wouldn't accept my mother's statement that 8-year-old me would not be watching a show about prostitutes. So I went out of my way to watch it. It's safe to say it was very raunchy, and I stopped after one episode. When I went to secondary school, about a year after Rose made her last appearance, I couldn't really talk about Doctor Who and Billie Piper as I did before. It just wasn't really the done thing. Whereas in primary school, a sleepover to celebrate the end of the series would have been the social event of the year. This was obviously, and thankfully, not the case in secondary school. You had to like football, really, if you wanted friends, because all the boys played football, and boys and girls didn't mix unless they were about to start dating. So life changed pretty quickly for me in those couple of years, not necessarily for the better. I had to hide quite a bit about myself besides this kind of ever-present Rose Tyler obsession. Whenever someone said to me, "Why is your voice so high-pitched? Why are you the only boy in the school musical Hairspray? Why don't you play football? Why do you only hang out with girls?" I knew where this line of inquiry would be heading. And I initially tackled it with this line that my mum gave me. "So what if I was? It'd be none of your business." But that only started more rumours. And so to protect myself, I would just give them a firm no and hope for the best, pretending not to hear what was being said as I walked away. But I didn't mind too much though. I still got to be in Hairspray. And the cool Year 9 girls thought I was really funny and cute, so... and I still have my best friend, my fellow Rose superfan, although she had actually changed too. The next time I went to her house, her walls were covered in Vogue magazine, as opposed to Doctor Who adventures. She didn't care about who the new Doctor would be, whether the new companion would be any good. She didn't even watch the series anymore. I remember really vividly standing in her kitchen with my sister, who asked me when the new series started, in front of this friend who didn't want to tell stories with me anymore, didn't care about maybe going to space. And I said, it's like absolutely going to happen. And I said, I have no idea, even though I knew that it was on at 7:30 on BBC One, and it was an hour, and we'd have to probably record it because Dad was doing a barbecue, and he always got wrong on the timings. Nightmare. Yeah, so I kept watching Doctor Who, even though it got really complicated and clever, as my mum used to call it. But it was something to sort of comfort me on a Saturday evening before I discovered Strictly Come Dancing. That's another show. My interaction with Billie Piper does have a clear peak though, and it is surprisingly late on in my childhood. I used to usher at this theatre, and it was always good fun, and I'd always volunteer for press night so I could rub elbows with the famous, and it was always a bit of a laugh, until one night, when shit got real. Billie Piper was there. Yeah. I tried to catch her before the show started, but it was so busy that I couldn't, so I knew that in the interval, it was all or nothing. The duty manager asked me to start rounding people up because they were playing all these announcements and no one was listening. This was it. This was my chance. I charged across the bar, past everyone I was supposed to be herding in, and, okay, this bit makes me sound slightly weird, but so is everything I've said, so. I reached my hand out and really gently placed it on her shoulder, and she turned round. Thank you. She turned round and beaming, my heart pounding, I said to her, "We need people to go back in now, please." I bottled it. I couldn't let her go just like that. I had to accept that when we're inevitably rubbing shoulders at the Oliviers in years to come, she just wouldn't remember this. And I said, "You were my real hero growing up. I love Doctor Who." And to be fair, she looked thrilled, although I think I would have projected that onto her whatever happened. Afterwards, she was having a cigarette outside, so rather than get the bus home, I made my mum come and pick me up and drive around the block 3 times just to make sure it definitely was her and it wasn't a dream. So yeah, Billie Piper is strangely important to me. I was a bit worried about talking about her, for ruining my reputation. But it will make a great anecdote for the Graham Norton show. Yeah, I've been judged a lot of my life for something that is pretty secondary to me, been told who to be and how to behave because of it. I think that Rose was always this really resilient character, and that has stayed with me. And also sometimes people are just really important and it's kind of hard to say why, but I've done my best. I am slightly concerned that I'm now 19, which is the same age that she was when she got whisked away in the TARDIS, and I'm yet to be travelling in space. But I have only just turned 19, so there's still time for that. Thank you.
very serious actor of the ADC. However, for those of you who are not aware of my lofty local fame, my name is Amaya, and I'm here now to leak some very sought-after footage of my early foray into the theatric sphere. That's right. It's my early production as a child of The Jungle Book, in which I portrayed King Louis. Now, some people, call this footage iconic. Other people, my friends and family, call this footage, it's not that funny, Amaya. It's been over a decade. Stop showing it to everyone. But haters gonna hate. And to my critics, I say I brought this video here today to just really put out there, because I know that there are a lot of aspiring actors in the area. Just a couple of tips that I think would really help to see in real time in this video of accent work, of realism, and specifically, which those who know me know it is a skill of mine, of dance. Roll VT!
Young man, what places you are? Let me go. Cool boy.
Yes, she is an actor.
Come on, let's shake her.
As we can see, there's only one Oscar-winning performance on this stage.
Have a banana. Sing jungle. Sing jingle, I shall did. Good. And old King Louis, Bobby do.
Now you can't see if I did raise 3 fingers there.
Sing jingle. Good. Then I'll lay a lamb for ya.
Any directors in the audience, I just want to put out a little service announcement that my CRSID is ARH90, and I'm going to be downstairs, so if anyone wants to slide into my Hermes, I'll be refreshing as I'm sure the offers roll in. And for everyone else, I will see you later.
Exasperating, overbearing, and utterly brilliant. Can anyone guess who I'm going to talk about? No? Well, it's my mother. I'm very creative that way. And, well, it's wise to stick with what you know best, so I thought, what could be better than mocking my mother for 7 minutes? I kid, it's not a story of mockery. Instead, she has, in fact, sent me a wealth of material and quotation, such as, I promise you the moon and the stars within that hour. Most of which I have no intention of including. So. But what I I will share is the best story of all. It's a tale of sadness and sheer fury mutually expressed between all mothers and daughters, or is it just me? I don't know. It was one dreary Thursday morning, I think, when Mum came into my room and said we were moving out for the second time that year. Now, we had moved into this lesser apartment about a few months ago, and I thought, how could you do this to me? This is unimaginable. How disgusting. Another move. Are you fucking kidding me now? Do you know I have life? I have a social life here. And she said, well, Shamira, you don't actually get it. We are absolutely broke. We will be living with your aunt while I sort something out. So when she said that, I wasn't really expecting to go from 1,200 square feet to a much smaller place shared between me, my mum, and my aunt. And I lost everything I was familiar with overnight. This continued for 3 months. And as my relationship with my mother deteriorated, so did her bond with her sister. And after this 3 months, we were unceremoniously kicked out of my aunt's house. And eventually, we settled in this room that was about, I think, a quarter of the size of this playroom. And so we were stoveless, cashless, stoveless, because they don't give you a stove in the room. And we had one dilapidated Japanese rice cooker. My stepfather's Japanese, in case anyone's wondering. That's why it's a Japanese rice cooker. It's a very specific detail. And she had £1 left in her pocket. So what did she do? She went out and bought a packet of flour to cook in this rice cooker. So try picturing this for a moment. My mum pours out this bag of flour, mixes it with water, puts it in a dilapidated rice cooker, and she tries to cook pancakes. And of course, then see this. She pulled up a raw, soggy flour pastiche. And it was then I knew that the few months she was talking about was crap, honestly. And at that point, I was in year 9. I don't think there's anything worse than a menopausal mother and a pubescent daughter in a confined space together almost all the time. And nonetheless, we worked within our means as a duo. And I can firmly remember 3 places that are etched in my memory during this year. That room, a local McDonald's where I got my fix of free Wi-Fi and air conditioning because Malaysia's very hot. And my math tutor's house where Mum had to sit in an overheated car for 2 hours as she waited for me every Wednesday because she could not afford the ride back home. And despite having reached an absolute low, nothing could stop my mum's fight in ensuring the best education for me. Since a young age, she had always invested an obscene amount of money in my education, which she reminds me of every day through WhatsApp. Something, to be fair, she's right, you know. This is something I never truly grasped the magnitude of until I applied to Cambridge, where privilege really does matter. And although we were completely broke, she never stopped me from pursuing my dreams, my creative ambitions, that is. And honestly, admittedly, this might be romanticized as fuck because I went to her one day in like year 10 and said, Mum, sorry, I'm not doing physics any longer. So I think she gave up on me at that very point. Screw you, you know. But then again, right, I'm quite sure this is not the case at all. Because Mum always said, like, pursue your creativity, not your pragmatic side. And this pragmatic side would have been something most people in my position would have taken. And when I always sought to give up, Mum never allowed that. Once, when I was 15 plus, I wanted to apply for a scholarship, and I had passed the deadline. She said, well, forget it, do it anyway, you know, because who knows what could happen in life. Life is a funny thing. And I did get that scholarship. I really did. Although I had to return it after 3 months due to being bullied intensely. And quite frankly, it would have been very easy for Mum to say, yeah, this was your fault, you're not tough enough, you know. But she never did that for one moment, always respecting my decision as a person and comforting me in times of hardship and saying that it'll be all right, like we will find a way out of this. So I returned from boarding school at 16, and then I spent another 2 years doing a myriad of other things. I probably need a whole show to explain, so sorry about that. Step forward. Now, it was time for me to attend 6th form. And I think 6th form was the hardest stage because I can't really count the number of times Mum actually had to be completely thick-skinned just to ensure I would have the best education possible, to ensure that I would have a chance at going to university, something she never got to do. And while I would rather not go into specifics, I'm pretty sure she has lost most of her friendships just to make that happen. In fact, she would happily lose everything if it meant being able to give me the best opportunity. But I remember a phase where I spent 12 hours a day reading about Jeremiah, Moses, Shakespeare. I studied divinity, if that explains the previous part. I'm not Christian. And I'm sorry, I just had to make that clear. And, yeah, so Jeremiah was very Game of Thrones, by the way. But, you know, when I did that, she would come with me, come here to my table with tea and biscuits and say, well, dude, you'll be fine, you know, mate, you're all right. Like, I know you're gonna do well, like, when have you ever not done well academically, let's be real, you know? But I told her, Mum, you don't get it, I'm going to fail my A-levels, I'm gonna get 3 C's, don't you understand? This is the most important time in my life, you know, what if I don't get out of Malaysia? You know, what if I'm stuck here for life? She said, well, you know, you can just do a retake, you know, whatever. But it would not have been simple to afford this retake. It would have cost us £200 per paper. And this was not money we had. But nonetheless, she always told me that I just had to do my best and know that my value as a person would not depend upon this particular piece of paper. That I was always loved and encouraged regardless of any decision I made. And quite frankly, in Malaysia, my choice of a degree, I do English because, yeah, I don't know why. Maybe, yeah, you know, most parents in Malaysia don't want their kids to do English, you know, because they think, you know, you're going to be unemployed, you know. What are you doing? You know, you go do law or something. And then I'll tell you why, okay. So, it's seen in one or two ways. First, and I'm going to do my old Malaysian auntie impression now, because that's my mum's friends. Wow, girl! You go to Cambridge, very, very smart, very good, intelligent. But it's mostly along the lines of the other one. So, girl, you speak English, right? You speak very good English, right? Why are you not doing law, Well, fuck you! This is where Mum comes in. I would have done law if it were not for her dissuading comments ranging from lawyers are liars. I'm not sure if that's a joke, to be honest. I really don't know. And you need to do something you love because I don't want you to be unhappy. Also, you're very good at English, so, you know, go do that. That's the thing you're good at, you know. She's right, to be fair. I'm not good at much else. No, I don't mean that, I'm sorry. But, so, going back, here comes the moon and the stars. Remember that? Remember that dramatic Betty Davis line? Yeah, that she paused in the last hour, where I chose to come to Cambridge. Because over this other, more financially viable university, just because my mum said, we are in this together, I will find a way out of this. And that sums it up, really. I think that that trust between us is what links us together. And she's not only the person to have pushed me most, I would go as far to say that she's my partner in crime. And yeah, in lots of crimes, yes. But whenever my mom says, we will do this, I know we will do this most of the time. I don't know about like the sometimes. But above all, like her selfless devotion, it inspires me every single day. And all the values I hold dear in my life are because of my mother. And I know that just for that, simply because of that, I am a better person for her. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Leo. If it's all right with everyone, just gonna have a quick pause in proceedings, just to briefly consider the development of an artist. What I've got two notebooks from my youth. The first from when I was 9, and the second from when I was 15. And I'm just going to read a couple of short extracts. And what I want you to do is just sort of try and pick up on the subtle changes that map the progression from precocious talent to, true literary stylist. So I'm going to start with a poem. Oh, just a bit of context for this one. When I was 9, I was obsessed with birds. Don't overthink it. So this is a poem called Puffin. Such a happy lifestyle. The puffin takes. Such a colourful bill. Such beauty. Such grace. But in the winter, when the skua don't attack, the beautiful colours on the bill dispatch. And then from that, I think we can sort of trace that to this. I want to lose weight! Not for health reasons, but because I want people to want to have sex with me. Just going to do one more comparison. Another poem. This one's called Yellow Hammer. Slightly more obscure bird. Bit of contextual detail for this one is you have to have quite a deep knowledge of the ins and outs of the Yellow Hammer's song to really grasp the full meaning of this poem. So if you don't, I can only apologise. We just simply don't have time to cover it right now. Yellow Hammer. Little bit of bread and no cheese. Little bit of bread and no cheese. But I only eat seeds. I am a yellow hammer sitting in the tree. Oh, little bit of bread and no cheese. And then, again, very clear line of progression to, I want to live in Brooklyn. And have 3 independent Independent Spirit Awards. And an Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay.
In case I hadn't introduced myself in that first bit. And today I'm going to tell you about someone who influenced me growing up. My white Hyundai Santro. You look very worried, sir. That's my car. That's not a racial epithet. Not that but since you are uncomfortable, could you just hold that? That's my set list. In case I forget, I might come back to you. If I'm famous, you can sell it. So I say my white Hyundai Santro. Santro was the car, Hyundai made the car. I say my car, but I really mean my parents' car. Because life in the 90s in India, you and your family were one unit. You did everything together. Think of it like Thanksgiving, but every day. And I spent a lot of time in this car, right? School used to get over at 2:30, and home was too far away and empty because both my parents worked. So I'd go to my mom's office and stay there because it was closer. And, I'd stay there till 5:36, she'd come out. And after she'd come out, it'd be party time, right? We'd go to malls, we'd go to movies, we'd go to my cousin's place where we'd play video games and cricket. Cricket, for the Americans not in the audience, is like baseball, but better. But this is a story about the 3 hours that I spent in that car almost every day after school growing up, right? Why is this story important to me? Well, my parents were from a generation in India where India was growing, and if you were educated, you could bootstrap yourself out of one social class into another. And my parents did that. I was there for the ride. This is what some of those experiences felt like. Why is this important for you? I don't know. But the Corpus Playroom isn't doing refunds today, so. I do realize a lot of you don't know what a hatchback in India looked like, so we do have an advert for you. Could we have that advert on, please?
We want a sizzling hot tea who'd like to get naughty. No, man. Peppers, rubs, and tan.
I think maybe we should try the beach cafe.
Dum dum dum.
Second chance. So here's the new Indica Zeta with 70 PS power, 14 kmpf, repeats 2.9 volt max of still missing.
He's gotta be down.
The all new Indica Zeta. Got it.
For the more discerning in the audience, that's not my car. This is my car. I know what you're thinking, but it's a hatchback. It doesn't matter what you're seeing. It takes you from A to B. Looking at this now, this car actually reminds me of a similar car that my crush had growing up. It was the same car, but in green. I remember we were coming back from Michael Jackson's This Is It. And she told me the 7 words you can't say on stage. I think cats can heal themselves. To which I told her the 3 words everyone always wants to hear. What the fuck? I still don't know what that meant. I do know I was a snob back then too, because I never spoke to her again. Anyways, digressions are easy, but coming back on script, I know a lot of people in the audience might have had babysitters or butlers. None of you had butlers, because if you had butlers, you wouldn't be at a Corpus lecture, right? But what I had was a driver, and he was a chauffeur, a babysitter, a butler, all combined into one. And he'd get me from school at 2:30 to my mom's office, right? And then he'd turn into my babysitter. So we were free to do anything as long as it was in a 5-kilometer radius from my mom's office. And the first thing we'd do on most days was that it used to be hot, right? This is India. This is Hyderabad. It used to be very hot. So we'd go and have some coconut water, which used to be amazingly cheap. It used to be for 5 rupees. I know you guys think in pounds, so if you converted it into pounds and adjusted it for inflation, it would still be very cheap. And then we'd come back, right, to the car, and after having coconut water, and this would be time for homework. Let me show you how I did my homework in my car, right? I'd curl up on the back seat, like so. That is a diagram of me. I tried to see how realistic that drawing is. And I do my homework like so, my feet on the window. This used to work because I was much smaller in size. And then after doing homework, because homework makes you hungry, it would be time for my second lunch, which was packed for me. Yes, not only for hobbits. And then I'd have the second lunch. And sometimes I'd go have fast food instead. I remember the first KFC opened up in Ahmednagar. They had 2-for-1 chicken zingers on Mondays. You could have so much chicken there and they'd never run out, unlike the KFC in Cambridge. And then we'd come back to the car, and now this would be the most favorite part of the day, because just before my mom would come out, we'd go to all the toy shops, and I'd buy a lot of toys. I love toys. They never had the toys I wanted, so I'd keep asking them about a toy, creating demand until it did come. So I'd go to the guy and I'd like, Optimus Prime aaya kya? Or Optimus Prime come yet? And I'd keep asking him till he'd get it. One day he did get it. I'm like, what? Okay, keep this at the counter. Could you hold it for me? Just keep it at the counter, and I'm just gonna get my mom. And I went back into the car, and I was just waiting. And then my mom came, and then I went, and I bought the toy. Thank you, it doesn't matter. It's all fake, doesn't matter. And then I got this toy, and I was so happy. To this day, this is still how I buy all my Transformers. So, I know I've been telling you a lot of stories about the stuff I did with my driver and, around roundabouts. But, because a lot of people would come in our employ as the driver, to me, the driver was like an extension of the car. But there was this one guy who I remember who was there for quite some time. His name was Satyanarayan. Satyanarayan was a form of God. And my mom, she used to work. She was highly educated, which was rare in India in the 90s. And she was a woman who was working, which was even rarer. So she felt very guilty leaving her kid, right? So that's why I think when I was really small, she got this God-named guy to take care of her kid while she went to work, right? Now I do realize there's a cultural difference when I'm talking, and some of you might not realize the significance of leaving your kid in something that's vaguely God-like resembling. But then again, you might be from colleges like Jesus, Christ, Trinity, so you might. And I've been telling you all these stories, right? Because everyone who came into that car did better after coming there. My drivers went on to better gigs, my mom did better, my dad, not in the story, paying for this degree though. Even I think, I did better. So everyone in that car climbed the social ladder in one way or the other. Except the car itself, it went nowhere. It's still in my basement. I took pictures of it, which I showed you. It's still there, but let's not be too unfair for the car. It was a hatchback, and it took you from A to B. That's my
a little treat. As earlier alluded to, I did quite a lot of writing when I was younger, in books such as this. Don't stop believing. So you're going to get a couple of extracts, and this is all Doctor Who keeping the theme. So the first is a third-person article, which I wrote about myself. I was at least 12 when I wrote this, which is frankly unacceptable, but here we go. So this is a report of when I take over as head writer on Doctor Who. and takes the Doctor Who reins as showrunner in big BBC changes. In an interview, he told Radio 1's Scott Mills, "I want every episode to be a blockbuster, but also a great family romp. With everyone on board from start to finish. There's a mixture of story arcs, but also great monsters and adventures which have slipped from the show since 2010. He promised viewers superb celebrity guest stars, fantastic new and old foes, and a high standard of adventure and storytelling. He has confirmed a new Doctor will be in charge, and that he won't bother asking Stephen Moffat for tips. However, some fans' high was knocked when he told listeners the series will only run for 8 to 10 episodes. Okay, so that was that. And next, so this notebook, it's absolutely a full series of Doctor Who written in green ink, which I did when I was 9. And you're going to get an extract. But I can't do this alone. So please welcome to the stage the ADCs and Mayor Holman. Okay, so I shall read the part of the companion. And Mayor shall read the Doctor. This is an extract from The Slime Planet. The TARDIS lands in a slimy bog. Talk of slimy!
Yep, Planet Neem. Love it.
Doctor, these are my new jeans. I got them last week from the catalogue.
Well, you're travelling with me, so hurry up.
Sometimes I just wanna... Shh. He points to a warthog in the shadows. What is that?
Some sort of warthog.
Does it live here?
Well, it looks like some sort of spine. But it also looks fine with bogs, so I think it might.
Gross. Suddenly the warthog takes a run. Doctor! This is to the warthog. Are you okay? Can you hear me? Doctor, is he all right?
I wouldn't think so. What is that?
He steps over to him, examining a patch of green goo seeping from the body. Is he bleeding?
No! The goo controls him, I think.
What'll happen?
I think he's dying.
Huh? Isn't there anything?
No, I'm sorry. Come on.
Thank you very much.
My first kiss was in a cinema. I think that the cinema is the most romantic place you can kiss someone, so I'm kind of glad that it happened there. I don't remember much of Justin Bieber Never Say Never. But I do remember that her mouth tasted of non-specific berry lipstick, and my mouth tasted of the 20 mints I'd crunched through half an hour beforehand. And that all her friends came and they watched, and it was horrible and kind of magic. I told her I loved her on day 2 of a 13-day relationship. We signed off every BBM with 10 kisses, and we're still friends. She goes to St Andrews now, and she has a long-term boyfriend who I think she might marry. I went to see my best friend Joe as soon as I left the cinema. Joe was almost a year older than me, and he absolutely loved FIFA, which at the time I didn't mind because I hadn't developed standards yet. Actually, in hindsight, having a FIFA-playing footballer best friend was quite good going for an 11-year-old boy who openly admitted to birdwatching and who sung an acoustic version of Lady Gaga's Poker Face in front of the whole class as end-of-year music exam. At Joe's house, we talked about my new girlfriend, and we watched Family Guy, and we gossiped vaguely about the weekend before when we had met up with some girls to drink Starbucks at a shopping centre. Yeah. All the girls fancied Joe because he was athletic and he had really cleverly colour coordinated his olive brown skin with like deep chestnut eyes. Yeah, it was almost a point of pride for me. Another girl fancies my best friend, who tells me secrets in the dark before we go to sleep. I asked him, do you want to do the best friend speech at my bar mitzvah? Quite an odd question, especially considering that my bar mitzvah wasn't for another year and a half. Sort of fumbled and awkward, but it was the only thing I really had to sort of show him how I felt. He said he'd love to, and I think made quite a dodgy joke about how the size of his nose would help him fit in with the ceremony. He was 11. I went to a single-sex private school. It should be no surprise to you that the students at City of London School for Boys were exclusively appalling. Especially when you consider the two main entry requirements were to be a man and rich. Like, if you want your school to have nice pupils, don't populate it with the cross-section of the world's most cursed Venn diagram. You'd find yourself in these really odd situations at a school like that. You'd accept an offer to hang out after school, and suddenly you're being shown the House Canalettos by the son of an Italian billionaire. These odd situations, like looking up in a class and being like, oh, it really is just boys. I'm not sure why I find the cinema so romantic as a place to kiss. It might be the dim lights and the other people who are there, like noticing but not watching, present in your moment. A private moment, sure, but not a secret one. You're not kissing for them, but you're not embarrassed, you're not ashamed. Or maybe it's because I've always loved romantic films and kind of always wanted to be in one. So like to run to catch her at the airport, or to arrive at her door in a downpour with a bunch of sodden carnations. To be at a party and be holding the hand of the girl who loves you like it's the easiest thing in the world. To lean in to kiss her at sunset with twinkly fairy lights in the trees and a swelling string quartet in the background. You know, romance on screen seems too perfect to be real, but there you are kissing in front of it with little popcorn bits in the fold of your shirt and Pepsi on your breath, proving that it happens. By the end of year 8, about 3 months later, Joe and I had stopped speaking. Where he had sat next to me in every class. He now sat across the room, copying his answers from someone else, sharing his secrets with someone else, brushing his hand, even very slightly, over someone else's. He was a year older than me, but still too young, I think, to know what had really happened, like why it happened. At his house twice, at a biology class, in a swimming lesson. Sometimes he'd just hold my hand under the desk, eyes fixed front ways, and then we'd leave the class separately, both doing the necessary mental gymnastics to unravel it, both sort of sick with regret. I ran to the bathroom and pumped like that foamy school soap onto my palms and scrubbed them like some hammy modern day Lady Macbeth. That was just after hand holding. After a while, it made me kind of sick to look at him. This Bieber-fringed idiot. Touching me when I told him not to. And then sitting in silence for like 10 minutes afterwards, just staring at the floor. And then trying to start some conversation about a new girl he liked. I would tell him he was stupid in front of our friends. I would make fun of his ugly big nose. Tell him he wasn't as popular as he thought he was. I kept thinking about what the other boys were going to say, like what they were going to say, how unsurprised they'd be. I mean, come on. He sung an acoustic version of Lady Gaga's Poker Face in front of the whole class for his end of year music exam. Joe, though. Maybe it's just a phase. In swimming lessons, I get changed in a toilet cubicle rather than the changing rooms, and if anyone sat too close to me in biology, I'd shuffle my chair slightly away. In year 9, I auditioned for a school play and didn't get a part. I just wasn't right for any of the characters. The romantic lead needed to be passionate, strong, magniloquent. He needed to lure the audience in with his deep voice and body language that didn't scream, "I need therapy." A friend of my mum's asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up. An actor, she offered. We had just been talking about all the films I loved, romantic comedies and Humphrey Bogart and those Richard Linklater films, which are just like a man and a woman talking until they fall in love. I said I didn't know. I thought of her the other week when I was having dinner with a couple of friends. We talked in circles for a bit about people we knew and comedy and theatre. And they suggested that one of our mutual friends just wouldn't look right as a romantic lead. Yeah, you have to believe he was falling in love with a woman, you realise. And I laughed along. I liked acting, I told my mum's friend, but none of the parts ever really seemed right for me. A few years later, my friend Adam eventually did the speech at my bar mitzvah. Adam was my new best friend, mad and funny and kinder than I was, and he read out this lovely thing he had written. I danced with my grandma to the Black Eyed Peas, and girls I can't remember the name of got drunk in the bathroom off vodka they had smuggled in a Tropicana carton. Joe came and chatted with his girlfriend, his new girlfriend, who he would stay with until the end of sixth form, another 5 years. In that time I would go on one more date. We didn't kiss in the cinema, and I made sure not to use the armrest in case our hands touched. She was a really good friend. Didn't want to lose her too. A few years later, I messaged Joe from the top of a rainy hill in Wales. I asked him if he wanted to talk about what happened. He said no. He said he was happy with his girlfriend. I said, it's not really what I meant. He told me to delete the conversation. I scrolled back a bit through homework answers and YouTube clips and meet-up plans to go to the shopping centre or to the cinema. Shared between two people who could only really love each other until they realised they were doing it. And I deleted it all. I stood on top of a beautiful Welsh mountain, alone, in the middle of a rainstorm, and cried. That was the closest I got to romance. By year 12, I had come out to my school in a vague sort of way. I got really drunk at a party and screamed, "I like men!" Wasn't the response at the time. Nothing changed though, really. A boy on the football first team sent me Snapshots of his penis, and the next day I nodded to him at school in the corridor, and he just looked at me with this heavy sadness and looked away. This son of an Italian billionaire groped me on the tube on the way to party, and then called me a faggot, and then made out with a girl all night. I left early. Did him touching me mean he liked me? Would he want to go to the cinema? A couple of months ago, my first kiss came down from St Andrews to visit, and we chatted over coffee about our mutual friends. "Joe's really liking Leeds," she said. Oh, cool. He's got a new girlfriend as well. Quite serious, I think. I checked his Facebook in the toilet. There were some pictures from a small birthday party he'd been to. He was in a group, beaming, relaxed. Brown hair cut neatly, James Bond stubble on a square jaw. Deep chestnut Cary Grant eyes. Next to him, a gorgeous blonde girl with a Hollywood smile and that sort of Grace Kelly glow to her skin that makes Rear Window feel kind of like a romance. And they're holding hands like it's the easiest thing in the world. I clicked on her profile. A photo of a holiday they'd been on together. Sun setting in the background. Twinkly fairy lights in the trees. She leans in to kiss him. I guess she was right for the part. Thanks.
Oh my. Well. Okay. So, After Leo's amazing poems, I don't think this will be that cool. Right, so bear in mind I study English literature at Cambridge University. Things really do come true. Okay? Dearest mother, I as a daughter appreciate everything you have done for me for these 14 years. You are like my cool, not best friend. Even though you always judge me. Remember when I was young, how I used to make you carry me from bed to get breakfast, 2002 smiley face. Please, Mum. Change to Mum. Remember that I might not be the greatest child a mother can have, but I really care for you. I just wanted to say sorry for anything I might have done to scar you. Thank you. Signed by Shamira.
The star is back. Some children need their dreams to be nurtured. It's why Disney makes movies about underdogs overcoming their obstacles, about never giving up, about always believing in yourself, about always trying your best. It's important that these children are given star-shaped stickers. It's important that their parents tell them every day that someone is proud of them. I, however, was not one of these children. At just 4 years old, with a minimal set of skills and a maximal sense of self-importance, I was already convinced that I was not only a star, but the sun. Can be seen from this dynamic double pink leopard print. This is not a child that needs to be encouraged. Now, the person I am here to talk about tonight is Children's Laureate Jacqueline Wilson. But before we start to talk about Jacqueline herself, it is important to understand the kind of child I was before I discovered her. I was the devil. Now, I didn't know that I was the devil, but I did know that I loved stories. I remember every night at bedtime my mum would bring this big, crusty old book of bedtime stories to me. And I remember that my main takeaway wasn't the softness of my mother's voice or the magic of the fairy tale. No, no, no. My main takeaway was that there was only one narrative that really held any merit. Mine. I paraded around my house like a dimpled messiah. Exclusively in the third person. Would you like some carrots with your dinner there, sweetheart? Asked my father, quite unaware that he was in the presence of a literary icon. Oh no, Daddy, said Maya. Literally, I verbalised, said Maya. Daddy's carrots are subpar, and I would rather eat poo. My mother tried to reason with me after weeks of living with a sentient audiobook. Maya, darling, do you think maybe it's time to knock it on the head with the said Maya? Mother, you fool, said Maya. Only Maya understands why Maya does anything, said Maya to Mummy, who was fat. Mummy was fat like the whale that swallowed Jonah, that Maya had learned about recently at Sunday school. It is no wonder that my mother dressed me in outfits like this. Soon I grew tired of passive-aggressively insulting those that put food on the table for me, and got tired of making my nursery teachers wonder if I was possessed, and I even got tired of dabbling briefly in Gothic fashion. And I finally graduated to making up my own stories. I remember I had those little cut-out dolls, you know, my first princess, my first mermaid, my first experience of misogynistic, capitalistic, gender-normative play division that forces young girls into subservient roles that only really places value on their sartorial excess. Thanks, Early Learning Centre. But luckily, young Amaya was not to subscribe to this patriarchal, glitter-glued propaganda. However, unfortunately, young Amaya couldn't say goodbye to gender roles without exhibiting some borderline sociopathic tendencies. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that they were red flags at this point, but I would say they were approaching a strong medium cranberry. Why can't we love and play with all the Care Bears, Amaya? Said my unsuspecting babysitter as this little 3-foot goblin in pigtails gleefully withdrew only the knives from her teddy bear picnic set. Clarice, said Maya, performatively and with a tone of menace quite beyond my years. We don't love Cher Bear. She's been sharing cigarettes with the other bears. And matches. Fire is against the law. And I am always watching. Now she lives in a shoebox. No one misses her. Apparently, my Care Bears lived in an Orwellian autocracy in which I was both Big Brother and God. Enter Jacqueline. Now, at this point, we can tell that I already had a penchant for the macabre, and the latent, chaotic energy just waiting to be channeled into a limitless supply of content which, like me, was aesthetically adorable, but beneath the surface, disturbed. Little Amaya worshipped the misfortune of others, and Jacqueline's books had misfortune in droves. They've got misleadingly fun covers, you know, bright colours, you know, non-threatening cartoons, and some of the more decadent hardbacks. They've even got a bevel. However, these covers are a lie. They lure you in with their kitsch pastel, like this charming fuchsia cover adorned with biscuits and bunnies, and then bam! It's the hand of young Cookie's abusive father. Quite. For those of you who haven't read a Jacqueline book, first of all, what were you doing with your childhood, having friends and hobbies? And second of all, there are a lot to take in terms of content. For example, timid teenage girl enters a dissociative state and hallucinates the ghost of her dead best friend, intrusively instructing her to sabotage the lives of herself and those around her. Vicky Angel, ages 8 to 12. Yet there's more. Midnight, ages 6 to 11. Maladjusted emo gets locked in an attic and discovers the secret that her brother was not only adopted, but adopted to conceal and replace the stillborn their parents had hidden from decades in the past by the exact same name. Now, I don't know what was going on at Random House Books publicity, but Roost is the one saying, I know what will resonate with our tween-age audience. Sudden infant death. Dear. Now, I'm not saying that we should should shy away from these topics altogether, but I am saying that at least one of these characters should have seen the inside of a counsellor's office, which brings me to the cat mummy. Now, this is a charming tale in which a young girl attempts to disembowel her dead kitten, hide its decomposing corpse in her wardrobe for several months because she hasn't dealt with the death of her mother. Now, I hadn't read The Cat Mummy, but I had read the blurb, so quite naturally, there I was, menacingly eyeing up my rotund young hamster, clutching a Tupperware full of essential oils and a well-serrated plastic spork I had shoplifted from the VHS cafe. Perfect for incision. Enjoying your seedlings there, Mr. Pip. Shame if someone were to lace it with arsenic, said Naya. But, you know, just normal childhood activities. Much as I've joked tonight about hamster mummification and made fun of poor Jacqueline a little, she truly was one of the most influential authors and people in shaping my imagination as I grew up. I remember I would rush home from school with my brand new Jacqueline Wilson book from Waterstones, desperate to finish it, before my best friend Emily so we could have a good gossip the next day at school about whose mum had died and who'd hidden their cat in the closet. I remember loving drawing all of the characters with my obnoxious grape-scented gel pens, and I remember the characters always lingering in my head long after I had turned the last page. Now, it's true that when I was tiny, I had a significant surplus of confidence, but of course, all children have to grow up. And as I got older, I started to worry and obsess about my future, about whether I was good enough to do any of the things that I had once wanted to and been so sure I would. And about sometimes whether I felt brave enough to want to go into the future at all. Now, obviously, Ms. Jacqueline is not a substitute for sertraline. However, Jacqueline did help me in her own way when I first read my very favourite of all of her books, which was Jackie Daydream, the only one that wasn't fiction. Now, Jackie Daydream told me about a young girl with frizzy hair who was short and who always got told off by her teachers at school for daydreaming too much. Jackie never dreamed that her dream, her wish, of becoming an author would come true, but she wished it anyway, whatever chance she got. Now, I no longer narrate my every move or abuse a population of Care Bears, but I do still love stories more than anything else, and I do still like to make wishes. Now, I don't believe that they're magic, and I don't believe that they'll always come true, because if they had, then by now I would be a skinty legend like Mariah Carey, with 12 Grammys, 13 Oscars, and a limitless supply of chicken nuggets. But such is life. However, I do still like to wish whenever I can. If there's any excuse, if I see a black cat, or if it's just struck 11:11, or if I spot the first star in a blank sky. And it's superstitious and it's kind of trivial, but I do it because it reminds me, however bleak I think things are in that moment, there are always things, even just one thing, that I am still hopeful for. And I haven't given up on writing either. I don't always have time to jam it onto a Word document, but I know that writing is something that'll always be there waiting for me if I want to get back to it. I know that words are something that if I really, really take my time with, I can use in any way I want. Now, Jacqueline Wilson isn't the only author that has instilled this message in my young dumpling self. But Jackie Daydream is the first book that really made me think that my daydreams, however eccentric or borderline dystopian some of them were, that they could really be spun into something special. And for that, I can't thank her enough. And, of course, for teaching me the theory of mummifying my Syrian hamster with just a Barbie's Dreamhouse coat hanger, my spork, and a sizable helping of Moxie. Thank you very much.
That's it, I'm afraid. I know. Yeah, punch yourself, please. Thank you for coming. Brace yourselves, things are going to get a bit wanky now. Back in March, when I started putting this together, I held like informal chats to choose who was going to be in it. And I spent 6 hours having conversations with people, which you'd be surprised is quite knackering. And I heard about lots of different things. I heard about a teacher who stopped someone being bullied. I heard about a security guard at Wimbledon. I heard about one girl's determined journey to become Josh Lyman from The West Wing. I heard about a lot of mothers, so many mothers. And any of those people, and the many more that I spoke to, could have been in the show tonight. So I want to thank them, because I feel different for having had those conversations. And I want to thank them for showing me that growing up is lots of different things, and whilst it's not always fun, it really matters. And I hope you feel like that too after hearing this stuff tonight. And if you take anything away from the show tonight, other than a really good recommendation of a TV series, like Primeval Series 1, DVD, like, seriously, get it. If you take anything away from the show tonight, it's that you are surrounded by people. And for some of them, if only for one of them, you will have been the person who did something, who made a difference, and I'm not blowing smoke up your arse, it's true. You will have done something, and I want you to be proud of that. And go out into the world and love each other and acknowledge each other. And yes, it's wanky, and yes, it's sentimental, but just be kind. Because life's a bit too short not to sometimes, isn't it? So for the last time, let's welcome our performers to the stage with a big round of applause.